we are having like clustering techniques here. Overview of four methods, association rules, overview of these methods. Different clustering techniques are there. They are present. We'll see two of them. One is that we will see interesting to see kind of algorithms, and then we have classification kind of algorithms here. Okay, classification, in that we are having new base classifier to go and to work with. So these are the different kind of machine learning data mining techniques that we are having the unit number 3 here for data analysis in depth. And just connected with that, we have another mechanism, like we are having decision trees, how they are also used for the same purpose. They're also used for the same data classification and regression also, how they are working. It's completely random forest also one of them. And neural networks. So neural network is a part of, again, classification regression, how they perform operations. Okay, that's also we'll see. And MapReduce is a part of big data analytics basically. So that also we'll see step by step here in this unit. So these 4 units focuses on data mining and the machine learning techniques. So let's start with the first topic, which is there. It's called as clustering. Yes, clustering. Okay, so before going to the clustering methods here, let's revise the concept of machine learning in detail. Machine learning is the algorithm that learns from previous data and then perform operation to do the prediction. So in machine learning also we have 2 different categories, like supervised learning and unsupervised learning. Supervised learning are actually based on predictive analytics, and unsupervised learning is based on the descriptive analytics. In unsupervised learning, we have the clustering techniques there, which are used for descriptive analytics. So descriptions, and based on the similarity, then they perform the pattern, they check the rules. So 2 techniques are there in supervised learning. First is grouping, pattern finding. That's what clustering is done. And second, that is also there called association rule. That's a type of data mining by which the rules are formulated. And once the rules are formulated, then we are going to perform many more operations on, like if this, then that. Out of it, the first part we'll see today, that's called as clustering techniques. So many clustering techniques are there, but what exactly it means, that we'll talk about. So clustering technique is coming under the concept called as unsupervised learning. Unsupervised learning is like, we are having historical data present here. Okay, historical data, then we pre-process the data here. Historical previous data we have, then we pre-process it. Pre-process, like the technique that we have seen, that will be applied, and based on that, regenerated data can be created. Then we go to check for machine learning here. Algorithm of k-means clustering is coming under that category, clustering, machine learning, and data mining, that we can apply. And the output that we got over here is this: patterns and rules. What pattern and rule that we have, that is the output of clustering technique. Okay, and finally we have validation. For business context, we check that whether the clusters, rules, pattern created is perfectly working or not. That's what we do. It's called as validation. Okay, that's what unsupervised learning actually flows. So in unsupervised learning methodology, clustering is very commonly used technique that is used to create the clusters, groups according to the patterns together. Let's see what do you mean by clustering. So clustering is an unsupervised learning problem. Now, key objective of clustering is to identify distinct group called as clusters based on some notion of similarity within a given data set. Some notion of similarity. I am given with the set of data with me, and what similarity that they are having in between, that will be found with the help of a technique which is called as clustering technique. Notion of similarity, we'll talk about it. Which statistical methods are used to find the notion of similarity? Clustering analysis origins traced to the area of anthropology and psychology in 1990s itself. Okay, like I'm given with a set of data, and in that I want to find a group. Let's say if you're knowing primates, we are in the same primate. We, monkey, gorilla, chimpanzee, all they are having same primate. But how identified? Because similarity notion that they are having, or cat, tiger, okay, panther, they are in same category, same primate, or wolf, jackal, dog, okay, so all they are in same category, that is in same primate. How they identified? Similarity is there. That's why their cluster is dog, our cluster is monkey. Like that is what we call as the clustering techniques. So generally in clustering technique, we are having two different methodologies applied. Out of this, the first methodology is called as divisive method, and second is called as hierarchical method, agglomerative method. Sorry, we'll talk about both. How exactly it is created, it's done. K-means or divisive clustering is that we are going to see now, and second is hierarchical clustering, which is agglomerative, that also we'll see at the end of this session how exactly it is done. Now see this one, what exactly clustering will do. So clustering, the objective is to organize data into clusters such that there is, cluster means group. Okay, we have seen one new based classifier, probability based algorithm, and then we have seen the output of it. It's not creating a group, it's just predicting something is over there. So what we'll do, we'll create a group seed data into clusters, a set of elements where there is high intra-cluster similarities present and low intra-clusters. So first cluster to second cluster similarity is low inter-cluster, but within the cluster whatever number of points are there, this similarity is high intra-cluster similarity is there. Within that cluster, whatever number of points are there, they're having highest similarity in all, and low intra-cluster. That's what we have. So an item will only belong to one cluster, not several clusters. That is, it generates a specific number of disjoint non-hierarchical clusters. So group are created. It's not like set are having. It's present here also and there also. No intersections, no intersection. Disjoint clusters are there. One point will belong to one cluster at a time. That is what the requirement of clustering is. And talking about K-means. K-means uses strategy called divide and conquer. Revise it again. You might have learned design of algorithms. You might have learned about the divide and conquer. Divide the problem in small parts and then separately execute it and then combine them together. That is called a divide and conquer. Exactly, same strategy is applied here in the K-means clustering also. Same strategy is there, that is applied. And with the help of this particular strategy, we are having there algorithm, specific algorithm, strategy of algorithm called as EM, expectation maximization algorithm. It's a type of algorithm. It's not a, it's a common name that we can say the algorithms are having. Common name algorithms are having. Just like divide and conquer. Which algorithm coming under that category? Let's say quick sort, merge sort are coming under this category. We divide the part and then we combine. Binary search, divide and conquer. So like we are having a classic example called as expectation maximization algorithm. That algorithm, that strategy of algorithm is used here in the K-means clustering. Remember, K is a value. It's not like developer's name is there. No, K is a value. How many groups or clusters you want, that's the value of K. Now that EM algorithm contains two steps here. The first step is to know, first step is expectation, that is E step. And second step, where you are going to find the expected point associated with the cluster. Expected points associated with the cluster. Okay, that is called as E, expectation first. And in maximization, second step, it is used to improve the estimation of the cluster using the knowledge from the previous step. Now we have to proceed further to achieve your expectation. Maximize it. Step in maximization is to improve the estimation of cluster using the knowledge from the first step, and these two step process repeatedly until the convergence is reached. Until the convergence is reached. Okay, this is what we call as the K-means clustering will do. Let's go for practical. Let's go graphically how it performs the operation. Before that, let's see, this is your output and input. We have original data, which is like in blue color shown, and cluster data. Cluster data is blue, green, and red. Three groups are there. Blue group Similarity notion, they're similar. Green, they are similar. Red, they are similar to each other. Sorry, between that they are having high intracluster similarity. So clustered and unclustered data is converted to clustered data. Groups are formed, and then we go ahead. You might be thinking why we are creating a group. Remember, very applications are there that we will talk. I mean, when we see the applied, we create the groups. Why we create the clusters? On similarity notion. Similarity notions are used, that also we'll talk about. Generalized algorithm, how exactly the system works. We'll see graphically, and let's talk about the things first here in this way. Our algorithm works as follows. Like assume we have inputs x1, x2, x3 till xn, and we have value of k. K means how many clusters you want, that is the value of k. In the previous example, in diagram, the value of k was 3 because 3 clusters are there. Value of k is 3. Okay. Let's see step. 4 steps are there which are done. Very common. Step number 1. Pick k random point as a cluster centers called centroids. Random point, anywhere that random point will be present, and most of the time these random points are placed positioned at equal distance. Triangle, 3 points are there, and they are called as centroid. Random points are taken, not near to each other, they are equidistant presented. Now step number 2, assign xi. We are having 100 entries, for example, in data set. Take number 1 to the nearest by calculating the distance to its centroid. Calculating the distance to its centroid. Each xi, x1 is taken, x2 is taken, x3 is taken, x4 is taken. Likewise, it will go ahead with this. Each xi to nearest cluster by calculating its center is distance to centroid. And third step is find new cluster center by taking the average of distance from the centroid. Okay. Find the new cluster center by taking the average of assigned points. Already whatever points are there, change. And repeat step number 2 and 3 until none of the cluster assignment change. Let's see graphically. Yeah, see this one. Here we have the steps to be followed in this concept. So, for example, we have this data. This is E state, this is M state. Expectation maximization. It's repeatedly that done there. Now, step number 1, we have expectation here. Like all the points are something like this, plotted according to 2 features. The first feature is x1 and second feature is x2. Fine. X1 on this side and x2 on this side, and they are plotted. Almost we have, okay, they are 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 21 are there almost. Let's say 20 different data is present. We have plotted it, and first step that we have talked about, expectation. So define 3 points which are centroids. Let's see, C1 first point, C2 is second point, and C3 is the third point, which is considered as center. Random point, and I'm not talking a specific algorithm is there. Random points are there, centroids that we call. And now assign each xi by calculating the distance to its nearest centroid. Let's say, for example, this point is there. Now this point will calculate a distance from C1, from C2, and from C3 also. C1, C2, C3. So you see that which is nearest centroid, C2. But remember how it is calculated. This is x1 point, and I want to calculate the distance nearest centroid from that. So from distance, C2 distance, how it is calculated? It's not mentioned over here. I'll show you how to calculate the distance. The distance calculation methods are something like this. See, yeah. The matrix is called as Euclidean distance. Euclidean distance. This is a formula you might have heard about. Euclidean distance formula is used to find the distance between 2 points on single dimensional, multi-dimensional plane, 2, 3, 4 dimensional space. Talking about 2 dimensional space, here for example, I'm having P1 here and P2 here. I want to calculate the distance between these two. So P1 is having two features, X1, Y1. Correct. Here. P2 is having two features, X2, Y2. Correct. X2, Y2. And also the distance between P1 and P2 is calculated by this formula. Again, a statistical method. Everywhere data mining data science we have statistics. So this is what simple example is. Euclidean distance formula we use here. P1 and P2. So formula is this, P1 and P2. So X2 minus X1 square plus Y2 minus Y1 square. And their square root is the distance between these 2 points that's presented over here. This is Euclid's formula. Euclidean geometry is having this formula, and it's a very ideal formula used by almost many algorithms. The algorithm which presentation I'm showing is a KNN algorithm actually. Same is used in K-means algorithm also. Direct formula which is used. Whether we have 2 features, 3 features, 4 features, 10 features, formula will not change. Only feature will increase. X3 minus X1. Okay, X4 minus Y4 something. Okay, we'll be having like that. Okay, so that values are chosen, and based on that we'll file meter distance. Check it out. This is what is possible. The simple example I shown how it's calculated actually. General idea is this statistical function like Euclidean value. So start from I is equal to 1 to k. Okay, xi minus yi square. I think it is something wrong written here. It is x2 minus y2 should be present, and y2 minus y1 should be there. Y2 minus y1. Okay, see, x minus y square respective 1 1 x1 y1 x2 y2 x3 y3 x4 y4. Perform their subtraction. One more thing here also, this value will not be negative. Okay, it won't be negative in future because subtraction, if first number is greater, whether number is negative, after squaring it number will become positive. Okay, and summation of all will have Euclidean distance. This is how the distance are. Actually one more is there, it's called a Manhattan distance. It is not used much because of this. If Manhattan distance is like this and Euclidean is like this. Okay, so formula, Euclidean distance formula is used to perform the respective operation of finding the distance. Okay, let's go to our code again main program. Algorithm workflow. So the distance from this particular point to the centroid, 3 centroids are calculated by Euclidean distance formula. As this formula is used, it will find which nearest centroid. Okay, so we have x1, x2 here, x side, and this is y side, and accordingly we can make use of it. Where the distance, for example, x is nearest this, so it will go in this C2, and the next step is mentioned that find new cluster center by taking the average of assigned points. Now let's see, for example, currently this is assigned, so average of this x and this C2 will be the centroid. Here it will be the centroid. Centroid changes upon every assignment. Okay, once the point is assigned, then it is going to change the centroid by taking the average of already assigned points. So if average is taken, already assigned points may be always different, 3 4 5 every time. For example, next time this point is there, it will be nearest this nearest this nearest this nearest this nearest this like go in cluster, like using or finding the Euclidean distance formula. They will go into the respective clusters, and after assignment, cluster center will change by taking average all the assigned points. Okay, cluster center will change after assigning all the points, and at the end, so we'll go on using one by one, second, third, fourth, fifth, every point will take. We'll check its nearest centroid, we'll go inside it, change the point, centroid. See, this is what is done over here. And automatically centroid will start changing. Here it is. For cluster number 1, centroid is at this position. Cluster number 2, centroid is at this position. Cluster number 3, centroid at this position. When this is maximization, so at the end, we will have the finally generated clusters, clearly created clusters by this particular method is termed as maximization. They are having recalculated centroids. Recalculated centroids. This is what's shown over here. C1, C2, and C3 finally. And a group are perfectly created, formulated. That's what the algorithm is having. Groups are created. Every point is assigned with a number. We'll start with 0 cluster, 1 cluster, 2 clusters. So 3 clusters are formed, 0, 1, 2. That's done. This is how the algorithmic workflow is there for the algorithm. Let's revise it. Number 1. First take k centroid, above case k equal to 3, randomly picked only the first iteration. And the point that nearest to the centroid point are assigned to the specific cluster. Centroid is the arithmetic mean or average position of all the points which are assigned. That is step number 1 and step number 2. Centroid point is recalculated using average of coordinates of all the points in that cluster. Then the step 1 is repeated until the cluster converge. So it's not possible that we have one point assigned to 2 different clusters. Not possible. Okay, this is how the algorithm workflow is there. So algorithm of k-means clustering exactly work in this way. Plain and simple algorithm is that. What are the limitations of it? K-means clustering algorithm needs the number of clusters to be specified in advance. We have to assign value of k. What is the value of k? Yes, 3. We have assigned. Okay, we have to assign. Okay, but there are some methods present that we can use to identify ideal value of k also. So k-means has a problem when clusters are differ in size, densities, and non-globular shapes. Yes, because Euclidean distance formula is used. Statistically, when values are different, values which are present in the data set are different ranges, different sizes are there, it may not generate the correct clustering. Remember, that's problem, limitation that is present in k-means cluster. And then the last one, presence of outlier may skew the result. Outlier, something which is far away present. See, actually k-means clustering is for 3 purposes. That's what my experience is. Generally we use it. First, create the groups. Second, used to detect the outliers. Okay, and third, detect the anomalies present in the data set. That for that purpose we can use the clustering algorithms. Fine. And let's see how to do this one. So some use cases, and I'll show the thing practically also, because few points are there that can be seen practically, then only it can be seen, understood easily. I'll show the thing practically with Python programming language in detail, start to end. Now, use cases. So k-means is used for many applications like image segmentation. Segmentation means for example, I'm having a photo, your photo, group photo is there. 4 people are present and you have to extract first face, second face, third face, fourth face. Or I want to check what is present, whether dog is present, whether trees are there, whether face is present. That we can find with the help of the k-means clustering, and the algorithm is called as image segmentation algorithm that we can use. Image segmentation. So k-means algorithm is coming, this image segmentation is used for image segmentation technique also. Next is clustering gene segmentation data. Gene segmentation, one of the example, like genes can be grouped, separated, and then their groups can be created by using the clusters. News article clustering. Let's for example, I am given with a set of news with me, and I want to check what category of news, which news are political news, or which news are local news, which are sports news, which are crime news. Like, create the groups, clusters of that particular news which are present. That is called a news article cluster that we can do. Because see, online whatever news you read, they contain a label. Labels are there. That labels are created by using clustering techniques. Okay. Even when you while you reading the news, you can see the suggestion, like similar kind of news at the right hand side of or left hand side, whatever. Because of that, the readers spend more time on their website. That's for the application that they want from that. Yes, news article clustering, that's possible. And third, clustering languages. For example, I'm given with lot many languages combined, and I want to check the group of that languages, like which are the Indo-Aryan languages, which are Dravidian languages, which are Sino-Tibetan languages, which are Indo-European languages. That we can find with the help of the clustering technique. That's the example that we can make use of this method there. Then species clustering. I have talked about primates. In which particular primate you are coming, that we can identify who are similar. So I have given a set of all the animals. So your algorithm will extract monkeys and people, human being at a time, because they are same. Or dog and the wolf, they are same. They will extract separately. This is clustering can be done. Anomaly detection. This I told about. Anomaly means something different things are happen. Anomalies are there. Anomalies which don't follow the properties again. Something different like fraud detection. We have in credit card transaction. Among that, few transactions are not same of the group. So they are anomalies. So that anomaly detection is possible with the help of the clustering. K means clustering, and not only K means general clustering also we can find, we can use it. So this is the idea which is used in the K means clustering techniques, commonly used device algorithm, which is possible to get implemented with K means. Even this is what we call a divisive kind of algorithm. Divisive category are there. We're taking one by one group, three groups are formed, three clusters are centers are formed, and taking one by one within it. Done. K means clustering. And just like that, again, another point of clustering is called agglomerative. We'll take it first of all. Let's see a few more detail about the K-means clustering. Practically will be seen more easily. So we'll go for practical now. Let's try to perform some operation with K-means clustering, and then we'll get to know three more techniques, three more points. Sub-points are there in K-means clustering. That also we will see. Identify the ideal value of clusters. Determine how many clusters are possible in it. And what are the techniques that are useful to find how many clusters are possible. Characterize and perform the predictions on that data. Okay, that's what is possible here. Let's see. One example. I'm having a data set with me, and that data set is created in a shopping mall. So when you go to a particular shopping malls are giving you a membership card. Is that, though you are not interested, they supply you take it. And on that membership card, they contain the information of client. We are information of client that subscribe to membership card, maintain the purchase history. So that particular has purchased something. What he has purchased? She has purchased. How much amount of money she has spent, like all. Okay, many things, number of times spent and how much money they have spent, like all. That's what they are called as. All that information maintained and the data that you see over here in the slide is taken from that particular card. See what that data is. We have a customer ID present here. See, customer ID. Then the gender, male or female. Okay. Then age of the customer. Then annual income of the customer in $1,000. Then spending score of the customers. Spending scores of the customers. Score means actually this score is calculated by them based on the spending that the particular customer has done in a particular month. Based on the spending score is calculated. Like you can check it as first person, number one, is of age 19, annual income 15, okay, $15,000, and spending score 39. Second person is also male, 21 age, $15,000 is the salary, and spending score 81. That's range between 1 to 100. Though are of same range, same income almost, and spending score, it means that customer ID number 2 spends more than customer number 1. Fine. So this data I will be using to create the clusters, to create the group. Why to create the cluster? That is important question to answer for. Now, see, why they use that information, why they provide the cards, because they are having offers with them. Offers, they don't provide the offers to all the customers. They actually create the group of customers. Now a set of customer having similar mindset, another set of customer having similar mindset, another set of customer having similar kind mindset, similar mindset, because their properties are similar to each other. We create a group and we provide this offer to group, not whole. Now maybe if you are already knowing that out of 100 customers, only 20% customers are in this category, and it's the highest chances that they will purchase my product. So I will not go for remaining 80. I will focus on that 20 only. For example, out of 20, 25 people are getting my product after marketing, and out of 20, 18 are getting. So we have 25% possibility, probability there, and here we have 90% probability that the people or group of people will purchase that item, because I know their mentality, I know their group is same. Okay, so rather than spending your time on the data which is not actually suitable for that, so we'll focus on the data which may be more interested in your product. That's why we create the groups. Okay, so groups are created. So this product for this group, this product for this group, this product for this group, separate data. Efforts will be less and will maximize the throughput. Input output ratio. I am giving offer that people will get because they are in that group. Their mentality is same. Fine. That is what we are talking about. So clusters are created by keeping this aim in mind. The example which I shown over here is just doing the same thing. We are creating a group, and according to the groups, we will provide the offer to particular group so that our efforts are minimized, output can be good, so throughput will be improved by this particular method. That's why we do this particular task of creating the clusters for this particular data. But the question is that, important question is that, I want to show this data in the form of a 2D array, sorry, not array, so 2D plot, scatter plot. So I require only two features which will perfectly create the cluster. So I am having 5 features here in the data set. 2 features, one will be on X side, another will be on Y side, X and Y. So plotting will be done correctly. All can be taken, but remember, it's a part of data scientist, data analyst to apply the logic to check which are useful feature, which are not. Even some statistical methods are also present, but we will not focus on that. We will apply your logic. That's it. I want to create a group. So which are the 2 important feature columns which will be beneficial and which will perfectly create the clusters? Feature selection that we call. Let's see customer ID. Customer ID, okay, obviously will not have any impact. Your roll number is not deciding your marks. Serial number not deciding your marks. So roll number, serial number, IDs, they are actually discarded from the given data set. Okay, that's why we delete that. Customer ID deleted. Second, gender may have impact, male or female, maybe. Age, yes, may be having impact. Annual income, yes, that also may have impact, will create the clusters. Spending score also may be having it. Means except customer ID, remaining other data is good, that will create the cluster correctly, but I want only 2 which are great or performing well to create the cluster. So in my idea, the 2 parameters which are create the cluster so clearly are annual income and spending score. Annual income in $1,000 and spending score from 1 to 100. Annual income obviously will affect create the clusters correctly, and spending score also is from 1 to 100, that will also create the clusters correctly. Age and gender also okay, but highest affecting parameter will be annual income and spending score. That will generate your data clearly, correctly, and let's talk about it, how to do. Remember, this is unsupervised learning, so only input is provided, output is not there. Just like we have seen probabilities algorithm last time, It was having output survival, probability of survival was the probability of survival was the output variable, but here it's not there. We create the output. We define the label to them based on similarity notion using the statistical formula like Euclidean distance. That's it. Now let's do this one and then decide the different parameter to apply the k-means clustering. We can apply the hierarchical clustering also onto it. How to do that also we will see step by step. Let's see. I'll open my Jupyter notebook and then we will see how to do this one. Yes, the data set I'm having here, let's describe it and check it so much clearly. I will give a link from a data set can be downloaded. This data set available on UCI machine learning repository. Let's see that one. Don't know the name that it has. UCI ML repository. This is what website that they have. Archives.icu. We have seen data retrieval. That time they talked about it. See all data sets I will show you. This is UCI ML repository. If you search in Google, we'll get the similar link there. Okay, here data sets are present. Click on that. And you can see data sets are here and their task, default task. See, classification, regression, clustering is there? No, sorry. You can check it here. Classification, regression, clustering. If I click on clustering, I will be available with the data set where the clustering is possible. The default task is mentioned. Clustering. See. Any data set can be chosen from this. This data set we can use to create the clusters. Okay. Maybe the data is available here. Let's see. Shopping data set is there. Yeah, this one, online shopper. Okay, so it will be downloaded from that. We'll see how to use it. So before that, I need to open my Jupyter notebook. And let's go in detail insights of k-means clustering. And we'll see how to determine the number of clusters also. Yes, it's opened. And I'm having a data set with me in my home directory here, which mall customers, this one. Let's see how it does it. Okay, see, same data set which is shown there on the presentation. So we'll be using here. Yeah, check it out. Customer ID, gender, age, annual income, spending score. Now we'll apply pre-processing techniques also. It's not required actually because these two columns we are using and they're almost having similar data. Even if data cleaning is required or some retrieval, all that are done. We'll focus on the common area, common part which is expected to work on the clustering techniques here. Okay, so this data set is present here. I'll create a new file here and check it. So first of all, I will read my file. As you can see, by using pandas, it's possible to read it. So let's check it out. So first of all, import the pandas. Okay. And let's read by data. So I just want to create the clusters here. So let's read that data. So let's see. df is equal to pd dot read underscore csv. Sorry, underscore csv. The name of that file is mall customers. Yeah, check it out. df dot head. Yeah. Yes, this is the data set that I want to use to create the clusters. So check out all the columns which are present within it that we can use. Okay, when the code is over, I'll share this code also with you. I'll upload this on the given link so you can download from there and try by your own. Hit. So first 5 entries are shown. And now what I want the input values for these two columns only. So I want to visualize it and after visualization only I can do the clustering of this data. Okay, I can create a group of data so that I can create these groups and I can use that groups for some specific marketing kind of purposes there. Yeah, it's possible. Now let's see how to separate it. So as part of data pre-processing, I'll just delete this, or I can extract this two only. This is 0 number 1, 2, 3 and 4. So I want 3 and 4 number column. So let's say x is equal to f dot I lock index locations, where all the rows, comma, column number 3 and 4 are taken only. See, this is a way that we can choose to, sorry, see this. First 5 columns are shown, just a snapshot of data that we can see. Okay, so x is equal to df dot ilock, 3 and 4 number column only are considered, because for that columns only I have to create the clusters. Okay, and see this. These 2 columns are there. Out of these 2 columns, 1 column I'll use on x side, 1 column on y side. That also we will see how can I have the general overview of the whole data set. Okay, that's it, done. Now let's check, is there any missing value present there or not. So first pre-processing technique that you can apply, dot sum, see, yeah, 0 0 are there, no missing values are present, and even we can describe this also. And check it. Okay, yeah, no deviations are same, that's why we can consider the data set. Deviations are same for them. So as I told, in k-means clustering, if the data is varied in different sizes, non-globular shape, densities, then we have to do the normalization of that data, so it will not generate correct result. Now check it. Here I have just seen 200 entries for both are present, size of it 200, and 26 is the standard deviation for first and 25 for second, means almost similar deviation that they have. Means the variance that they are having is same, it's not different. That's why they will be used same way in the generation of final clusters. So I don't require, that's why the standard deviations are required, and deviation checks, if they are same, then data can be considered same. Deviations are not, though minimum maximum are different. Okay, minimum 15, maximum 37, here 1 to 190, deviations are same, that's why variance also same. That's why we are not going to do any pre-processing onto this particular data set. Okay, so this is how the data is taken. And now the next important part, to visualize it. Let's see before clustering how it looks like. The diagram which I have shown, I will show that diagram now. So import, this is used for plotting. So let's say on x side, I want to have that annual income, okay, and on y side I will have the spending score, okay, and let's have a scatter plot. Scatter dotted plot is visualization, so we'll talk about it. We are having visualization technique separately. That time also we'll have a revision of all. Scatter plot. So from x, okay, column number 0, that is I lock, sorry, column all the rows, and column number 0 on x side, 2 columns are there as we can see, annual income, comma, on y side we have this column. Let's have a color equal to red. See, this is your currently available data, unclustered data. So groups are not created. Let's make it more bigger, and dots are, again, we have to keep small. So to do this one, we're having the bigger size. Okay, I'll be using this aspect ratio 16:9. Everyone's laptop is of that particular size, so we can just use 16:9 resolution. See, unclustered data. Okay, so you can see this by using the figure I've just said, x label I've said, then y label also, and plt dot title unclustered data. Now unclustered data is written over here, and this particular unclustered data is formulated. Now in this data I want to create k number of clusters, but what is the value of k? To determine the ideal value of k, there are many methods present. Try to know that, because it's a part of exact syllabus that we have, and statistical methods are very important, essential to know how to determine the number of clusters. Okay, how many clusters you want. The unclustered data is okay, very fine. You can check on annual income, start from 20, almost 15 onwards, and maximum is 140 till. Okay, here also on y side you can observe minimum 0 spending score to maximum 100 is there, automatically taken there. We can write your own ticks also, your own limits also, but it's not required, just check it out. So 200 entries are there. Is that 200? So you can see it's 200 present here. 200 entries for both of the columns are present. 200 for first column, 200 total rows are there, and we are going to make the clustering of that particular row. So unclustered data is looking something like that. Now let us continue. Important question is how many clusters you want to create. Thing is that I can define, I want 10 clusters, so it will give 10 clusters to me according to the algorithm that just we have studied. But there are some standard methods used by which we can determine what is the ideal value of k. What can be the ideal value of k? So two methods are chosen there. First, a elbow method. Second, a silhouette method. Difference is that elbow method is a graphical method, silhouette method is a statistical method. Anyone can be chosen, and most of the time elbow and silhouette method give the same result, most of the time. Let's go in detail and check how many clusters, how many ideal values of clusters are possible here in it. Let's see that. The first method, elbow. Statistical method plus graphical, both are there in the elbow method. So elbow, we know that this is the elbow. So when you put elbow like this, so this kind of graph will be created. How? First of all, compute the sum squared error for all some values, for some values of k. K is equal to 2, 4, 6, 8, something like that. And SSE is defined as sum squared error, distance between each member of the cluster and its centroid. See, think logically, how exactly its meaning is there. See, distance, if one cluster is having some n number of points in it, I number of points are mentioned over here. Okay, distance between the point and the cluster centroid, every point and cluster centroid, its square and addition of all is done for every value of k. For every value of k. Let's see this diagram again. There is that, this one. See how SS is calculated. For the distance, for example, centroid is here. So distance from this point to centroid, this to centroid, this to centroid, this to centroid, like squared, addition, and for all the cluster it is done. For all, this is first cluster, third cluster, fourth cluster. This is called as sum squared error. Remember, sum squared error, SSE in short we call. And this sum squared error we have to calculate for every value of k, different values of k, different values of k. See here, for k equal I equal to 0, for every first cluster plus second cluster for third cluster. For example, value is 3, value is 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, value is 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For all every clusters you have to calculate the sum squared error. Now the question is that, what do you think? If I increase the number of clusters, SSE will increase or decrease? SSE will decrease. Why? Because the number of points in the cluster will reduce. Number of points in the cluster will reduce. Fine. That's why the error rate is also get reduced because points are less. That's why the error that we have inside it will also be less. Consider I'm having 100 points and I want to get 100 clusters. What is the SSE? 0, because every point itself will be a centroid. So error will not be there. Distance calculation will not be there. Distance is 0. So SSE will be 0. It means that when high number of clusters are there, SSE will be less. Obviously, when one cluster is there, SSE will be highest, and when n number of k number of whatever number of points are that number of k's are there, then SSE will be lowest. If you plot the k value against the SSE, you will see that the error decreases as k gets larger. Error decreases as k gets larger. This is because the when number of cluster increases, they should be smaller, so distortion is also smaller. The idea in the elbow method is to choose the k at which SSE decreases abruptly. It means that it creates an elbow effect in the graph. The point from where the rate of decreasing SSE reduces drastically. Elbow point. So it will be something like that, decreasing very fastly, and from this point onwards it is not decreasing. Slow decreasing rate will be there after that elbow point, and that elbow point value is called as the ideal value of k. Determining how many clusters, that will be shown. Let's try that. Now see, in scikit-learn package of Python, if you do this in Anaconda, so we will be available in scikit-learn. We have seen that for new base we have tried. To the first thing also we have tried that one. Here in clustering is possible. It's present there in the scikit-learn package. Let's import. K-means. Okay. From sklearn.cluster, I am importing a class called as k-means. So this class contains the functions by which a k-means clustering algorithm can be applied. It generates the labels to respective points sequentially 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever numbers. Clusters I have given according the labels will be assigned to that particular points sequentially. Now I'll talk about SSE. See, SSE, we don't have to write the code directly. I'll show SSE how it is calculated. For example, there's an object I'll create. How many clusters you want? Let's say I want 3 clusters. So I've just assigned as 3 clusters in it. I want to create 3 clusters for the, so I have created the object of k-means whose name is km. Object is km. K-means is the class. Number of clusters I mentioned 3. Okay. And now I want to generate the labels. So labels is equal to km dot. Now this is how we can apply it. Fit predict. On X you have to apply. Now this will apply the k-means clustering algorithm on the data based on the functionality that just I have explained. Will create the groups for every individual point in that label in that data set. It will assign 0, 1, 2 labels to it. What are that? See, 200 labels are there. First, all of these elements are same. They are having 2 labels. Next element are almost mixed 10, 10, 10, 10 are there. So 3 labels are created. 0 label, 1 label, and 2 labels. 3 labels are there. These labels are formulated and they are just, you can see they're in front of you. 0, 1, and 2. These 3 labels are presented here and 3 clusters are created. But I'm not interested in that because I don't know what's the ideal value of k. I just want to show you how SS is calculated. Let's see. I'll just show you inertia. Here in km dot, this is the sum squared error for value of k equal to 3. Sum squared error for value of k equal to 3. Like this. 1,06,348.37. If I change this, let's make it 10. It was 1,06,000. Now inertia is 19,704. It means that as we increase the value of k, your SSE decreases. Inertia is a SSE, is technical name given here in the scikit-learn. Don't worry about it. SSE itself, it's a SSE. Okay, now if I make the clusters equal to 200, let's check it out. Actually, the number of element in the data set are 200 itself. Okay, 200 are there, and the inertia is 0 because every point will go into its own cluster. So no inertia, no SSE is there. Correct? That's what got the point. Now what we have to do, we have to plot the value of SSE against the value of number of clusters against the SSE. So we will get a elbow like structure there. So how to do? So I am going to define it. I want to give a range. For example, let's start the value of k equal to 1 to k equal to 15. And I will calculate the inertia SSE for all of these values, and then I will have a plot. How to? Trial and error method. So let's create one list which will empty list. Okay, so don't try this. Okay, let's keep it. Empty list presented here. Okay, and after that I will find the SSE for cluster 1, cluster 2, cluster 3, cluster 4, 5, 6, 7 till 15, and then I will plot it. So I require a for loop for that. So for a in range 1 to 15, let's say 16, range will go till 15 only, that's why I'm taking 16. Yeah, sorry for the interrupt. It was disconnected accidentally because of network connectivity. Let me share it again. Wait a minute. And go with practical now. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm getting SSE list here, empty list present here. Okay, and then I'm using a for loop to determine the different SSEs for different value of k, and where I got the elbow effect, that will be my ideal value. So from k1 to 16, it will go till 15 only. Here I'm creating the object of k means. K is equal to k means n clusters equal to k. Yeah, and then predict it. So let's use this one as it is. Cable labels equal to k minus fit predict x. And now where I'm getting inertia, so SSE dot append, SSE is a list, to that list I'm appending the inertia, that is SSE for every individual number, inertia underscore. Yes, that's done. It's running. Yeah, now it's done. Now check it. What I have done, empty list I have created. It is, I'm going to store SSE for all the value of k1 to 15. Okay, so from k1 in range, k in range 1 to 16, I'm creating the object of it by passing different value of k here. So value of k will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Every time I'm creating the object, I'm predicting it, labels, and then I'm identifying the inertia, that is SSE, and appending it to this method, this particular list, this list. Done. And if you print it, see, Check out SSE for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you can check it is decreasing order. 2,69,000, 1,81,000, 1,06,000, 73,000, 74, 37, 40, 25, 21, 19, 17, 16. SSEs are generated from 1 to 15, and now I will plot it. Number of K against the SSE, and then we'll check what effect, whether I'm having elbow effect there or not. So SSE is calculated, and now let's have a plot of all. By looking at the value, it's not possible to see. Whatever the formula I just mentioned about SSE, it is used here to find the inertia, used to find the SSE of individual value of K for all the clusters which are created by the K-means algorithm here. Fine. If it is done, so let's see how to perform operations with. Now let's have a plot. PLT dot, let's see on X label, we'll be having value of X side, we have value of K. Value of K is from range, sorry. Value of K. Okay. And on Y side, you will have the SSE. Okay. And let's plot, line plot. I'll show you. See, this is a simple example I just shown. Example I'm talking about, not the graph for my current example. This is just a demo. Here number of clusters are there, 2, 4, 6, 8 something are given, and on this side we have the sum squared error. Okay, we can observe here from this point, 6 point onwards, the elbow effect is identified. We are having the sum squared error decrease in rate very slowly. So value of K equal to 6 for this diagram which I have shown, but for our example may be different. Let's check it for our example also, where the SSE will be decreasing abruptly. Check it out. So plot value of K is from range from 1 to 16, and against that we have SSE. Let's have a color to it, very good color like green. Check it out. And many things also we can add, and let's see a few more things we can add here. Plot, let's have a grid, and let's have a X sticks. From X sticks are from 1 to 15, 16, yes. See this. Oh, what's the problem? Sorry, I require a range here. This. Yes, done. See. Value of K is 5. Is that? Because from 5 onwards, the rate is decreased. Decreasing rate is somewhat very slow. Till 5th, it is drastically changing. It's very fastly changing. But for 5 onwards, the rate is decreased. Here we have the elbow effect. This is. We have the elbow effect. Value of K, which I have taken as a range, 1 to 16, and there along with the SSE, which we have calculated here by adding inertia, is taken over here, and you can see now. This is the elbow method. To find the ideal value of K, graphical method is that. So by looking at that, we can check, yeah, this is 5. 5 is the ideal value of K that we can see now. Getting first method, elbow method, that's called. How many clusters? 5. And along with that, we have another method also, the example which you are carrying. Now see this one, it's generating something like that. Elbow. 5 is the ideal value of K that we can say for this particular case. Now, it means that 5 clusters are possible in the data that I am using for mall customers here. Now let's talk about the second method, which is statistical method actually to find ideal value of K. Silhouette analysis. So silhouette analysis is a way to measure how close each point in a cluster is to the point in the neighboring cluster. It's a way to find out the optimum value of K during the K-means clustering. Now, silhouette value, silhouette score basically, it lies within the range of -1 to 1. For every point it's calculated, silhouette value. So value of +1 indicate that sample is far away from neighboring cluster and close to the own cluster, +1. Similarly, value of -1 indicates that point is close to its neighboring cluster than its own cluster assigned. Is it? And value of 0 means at the boundary of the distance between the two clusters. So value of +1 is an idea, -1 is the least preferred. Hence, higher the value is, better the cluster configuration. Let's see again, go to back. Check it this. Now, if I talk about a particular point, let's see this point, this point, or here, this point. You can check. This point is somewhere closer to this cluster, very close. So value of seal out score for this point will be somewhat negative, -0.5 maybe. Okay, and which is very close to this particular cluster. Like for example here, this cluster, this is far away from this point and very close to the cluster centroid. Its value will be positive, 0.8, 0.9, something like that. So as this point moves away from the cluster, the seal out score decreases. I'll show the formula how it is calculated, don't worry about it. Seal out score decreases, so it becomes negative. +1 means the point is very close to centroid, and as it start moving away from the centroid, the seal out score will decrease. It will go 0.8, 0.7, 0.6, 0.4, 0 on boundary of them. Then it will go away. -0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4 till -1 maybe it's there. This is what the concept hill node analysis is showing. Now my question is that seal out score is calculated. What do you think? Seal out score should be more positive or should be more negative? See, seal out score should be more positive, not negative, because positive score will realize that the points are very close to the centroid. Negative score realize that the points are very long from the centroids. Correct? See, very close, positive, very long, negative. And let's see how it is calculated actually. In the data, let's define A of I to be the mean distance of point I. Okay, A is a cluster, A is a cluster. A of I is the distance of that particular point from the cluster I. Point I, cluster A. With respect to all the other points in the cluster assigned in A, we interpret A of I as how well the point B is assigned to the cluster. Smaller value, better assignment. Similarly, let's define B of I. Now, A of I is the distance from its own cluster. B of I is the distance from the neighboring cluster. Getting it? A of I own cluster, B of I neighboring cluster. Mean distance, neighboring cluster. To the point, its closest neighboring cluster B, and the cluster B is a cluster to which the point is not assigned. Not assigned to A, but distance from B. Yeah. It's closest among the all other clusters. Now, what is seal out? Seal out score is calculated by this method. Check it out. Formula is S of I is equal to B of I minus A of I. Think logically again. Distance from neighboring point minus distance of its own point divided by maximum of both. Getting? Now, for this case, if the point is close to neighboring cluster, this number will be less. Close to the neighboring cluster, this B of I will be less, and value of SI will be negative. If this number is less and this number is higher, value will be negative, because close to the neighboring cluster B and it's close to the own cluster A, this value will be more and this value will be less. Value will be more positive, more positive, divided by maximum of A of I, B of I. That's how seal out score is calculated. S of I is equal to B of I. S of I means seal out score for I is equal to its distance from the neighboring point minus its distance from its own point divided by maximum of distance from neighboring point and distance from own point. That's it. That is what we have seal out formula. Seal out score is calculated, and where the seal out score is highest, that is the ideal value of K. Where the seal out score is highest, that is the ideal value of K, perfect value of K, that we can say. Now, let's try it. That one also here by some method. Silout score is calculated by one function in sklear's matrix package called as Silout score, I think. Yeah, let's try that. Silout score. Yes, Silout score. Yeah. This will calculate Silout score. I don't need to write the formula again. Just like the one that we have seen above. Formulas are required to remember, but here we are having facility to work with that. Method I will apply. What is that? SILH is equal to, see, empty list I have created, and for all the values from 1 to 15 I will take a Silout score and attach it, and we'll find where highest Silout score is present. Yes. For k in range 1 to 16. Okay. Remaining tasks are I think same almost, but yeah, these two are same. Remaining are not. Inertia is not considered here. See, yeah, km object is created, clusters k, and then we have predicted the labels. Now these labels are important for Silout score. For k means we are not used that. Here these labels are very important to know. Now let's have a Silout score. So score is equal to Silout score labels comma, what's the second value? K, sorry, just a minute. Inverse, sorry, x is first. Parameters should be perfectly created. Yes, score is equal to Silout score. Score is a function. Silout score, score is a variable. Silout score is a function. To this, these are the labels. So it will check neighboring points and find a Silout score for k equal to 1 value, 2 value, 3 value, 4 value, and we'll append it. Dot append score. Oh, I know what is the error there. The error is something different. See this one. Sending error. Number of label is 1. Varied values are 2 to n number of sample. It means that, see, Silout score can be calculated only when there is a neighboring cluster present. Correct. Only when there is a neighboring cluster present. If it is not present, then how Silout score is possible? It means that when value of k is 1, Silout score is not possible. Getting? To start from 2 always. So neighboring clusters should be present. If for value of k equal to 1, neighboring cluster are not available, that's why it is showing error here. And I'm making 2 to 16 now. Yes, correct. Done. Silout score for all the values are calculated. All the value of k are calculated, and now let's plot it, and then we'll see where we have a highest value of Silout score. That's the ideal value of k. Let's try it. I'll use the same plot. Value of k, and here we have Silout score, grid, ticks, and here it is SILH. Technically, you need to remember why and how it is exactly done. What these are technical standard methods are there, which data science is having, and based on that you define a perfect algorithm out of it. See, plot 1 to 16 Silout score, and we can have the variation, and we can see where the highest value of k is there. Okay, actually our ticks are from 2, because for it's not from 2 to 16 we are done. Check out where the highest value of k is there. 5 again. 5 is highest value. 2, then 3, then 4. Okay, different clusters are taken in consideration. Okay, so remember that this is how we can make use of a concept. Second method to find ideal value of k in k means clustering. So this is how I have done. Silout score for everyone is calculated from 2 to 16, and then we have compared it. Now it's decreasing afterwards. 5 is the highest score. It means that at 5, maximum amount of closeness in the cluster is possible. Maximum amount of closeness of clusters are there. That's why K is the ideal value that we can determine from this particular mountain. Highest peak is on 5. Okay. Yes, this is how the Silout score will work. Okay, so Silout methods are something like that. We can have bar chart also. So by that we can determine and perform the operations of K-means clustering. So these two methods are used for creating the clusters, ideal value of clusters that we can find, can jam. When looking at only theory concept, it will be difficult to know how it's working. So to try to do the things practically, we'll go more detailing about the practical concept in theoretical knowledge. So you can put here when you can draw also how exactly it works and by which methods is suitable. So both methods are suitable. Both are giving you correct answer, the same answer, not again correct, same answer. That's why we determine that this value is correct, maybe. So we know that now the clusters are K. Let's define the clusters. So update of K means I will create. I know that now ideal value of K is 5. So let's see how it is done. And clusters 5. Created the object and assign the labels. It's equal to Km. Km dot fit predict. Fit and predict. Predict the labels. Like that's what we have on X. Then labels are predicted and check it. Sorry. See. Sequentially, all 200 points are assigned the labels by calculating the Euclidean distance from the centroid of it. Getting Euclidean distance from the centroid of it. So see, point number 1, fourth, fourth first. Like these all are in between are in the cluster number 0. Okay. Then we have cluster number 3, 2, 3, 0, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 0, 3, 2, 3, 2, like all are there. 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 5 different clusters are created and numbers are assigned. Okay, so numbers are assigned. Now we have not yet separated the data, or we have not visualized the data also. So let's visualize that data. So for visualization, again, the things which are shown above without clustering, how it's looking like, and with clustering, how it's looking like, that we can see. I'll just copy this data from here, and then we will see the plot here again. See, figure size I given 16 by 9. Then annual income on X side, sending score on Y side, and cluster data is that. And then we got like that. Now I want to identify 5 clusters. So there is a method given over here. What I will do? How to show that cluster? So what I will choose the color according to number. For example, the point is assigned number 1 cluster. So number 1 color will be given to all. Number 0 will be all 0 cluster. Number 3 for all third cluster. 4 for 4. One on left side, one on right side. So we can use this method to do. So check it out. What I'll do, I'll just make a subplot here. Subplot. 1 row, 2 columns. Number 1. Uncluster data. Okay. And here we'll have a clustered data. How? Let's see that. This is plot number 1, and just below there will be see plot number 2. Points are same, only color parameter I will change. Color is equal to, this is clustered data. See, first of all, unclustered data will be shown, then I will show the clustered data. Here, plot number 2 I am using, same plane will be possible. X side 0 column and Y side column number 1 I am taking, fine, cluster. So to this color, I will assign the labels. So wherever the same label is there, all that will be visualized in the same color. 0, 0th color, 1, 1 color, 2, 2's color, 3, 3's color, 4, 4th color. Check it out. I have assigned these labels here, and you can see now this perfect clustering. You can observe it. A perfect grouping is there. Like you can see these people are here, these people, this one, 5 cluster, perfectly created. One group is here, another group is here, one group is here, okay, one group is here. Fine. The blue one, purple, green, yellow, and cyan. Perfect. Groups are unclustered data is clustered data. Now, what is your observation? You can identify your observation from this clustering technique. Application are perfectly known now. What is that? Let's see. The element which are present here, element person, people, customers, which are present in yellow color here, they are the customers whose annual income is less, spending score is also less. Correct. This group, yellow one. Then these particular groups, their annual income is high but spending score is less. Correct. This group, annual income is less but spending score is high. Okay. Annual income is less but spending score is high. That's a different mentality are there. And these people are annual income is high and spending score is also high. The fourth one. And who are these? They are at the center, middle class we can call. That's why they are at the center. That is what we are having. Annual income, spending score, both are average. They are between 60 to 40 almost. Both annual income also and spending score also 60 to 40. So 5 groups I have identified. Now I can separate. Let's see how to separate. Use separate CSV file, separate it and use it for some other operation. Make them this data where then this product will be sold or this marketing, like anywhere we can just make use of it and perform operations accordingly. Clustered, without clustering, after clustering. No complexities are there. So these are the statistical basic technique that we apply to form the clusters from the available data. This way. One more thing I'll show you. Cluster centers are not shown over here. See how many clusters are there? We have 5 clusters. Cluster center recalculate after every stage that we have talked about. At the end, after maximization, where the clusters are there, let's see that. I'll go above this and here I will show you 5 cluster centers. Annual income, spending score, annual income, spending score, annual income, spending score, like that. So these are the annual income, this is spending score. 5 points are there, which are the cluster centroids. Center positions of all the clusters are there. Cluster center. Even I can plot it. Let's plot it. What I'll do, I'll just use them in the center here like that. I'm storing there and here I will plot it. So in variable center, I put them all together and let's plot it. PLT dot scatter. Centroid plays very important role in the clustering there. Centers, all the rows, column number 0 and center, all the rows, column number 1, comma, let's have a color equal to black, okay. And size also I'll keep, let's say 100. See this, centroids. Is it at the center? Here. First, second, third, fourth and fifth. Exactly, almost equidistant location that you can see. They are present at equal distances. Okay. And present at the center of it. Center of these particular clusters which we have created by this particular method and mechanism. Fine. So this method we can use to create the groups. And one more, okay, clustering is done. We have to save these files. Total elements which are now available with us are 200, and in that 200, for example, I want to save. I want to check cluster number 3's data separately. Cluster number 3, extract it. So your data is DF, and let's apply the data like this. Very easy to do. Labels is equal to 3. This is the data of customers where label is equal to 3. Third cluster is this. Okay, how many are there? You can check it. It's list. The cluster is 4. See, 1 0 1 2 4 6 8 9 0. How many are there in 1? How many are there in 1? Then 2 extracted. Check it. And after extraction also we can save it. So task, why we do clustering? Because we need a group to create and we have to extract that data. So this is what can be done. So let's use what's that? 2 TWO. Let's create this 2 df of labels and now save it in TWO.2 underscore CSV to a file name. Let's say second group.csv. Now done. I'll go to second group. Where is that? Second, yeah, this one. So people which are in group number 2, I have extracted them and now I will show you them. See, clusters are formed and we got that data. This is original and this is group number 2. See, customer ID 25, 125 onwards, many people are there. Total 35 persons are there in this data set which are coming under same category. You can check it out. Annual income is almost in high range, above 70 range. And spending score is somewhat less, I think, there. Annual income high and spending score less. That people are these people are. So we have extracted from clustering and we can see that. This is how the clusters are created and they are saved. Okay, one more thing. I'll just show you the length of all. 200 total are there. We have formatted the clusters. You can check the clusters length of 0. Okay, these are the middle class or maximum are present at center. Then 1 are 22. Cluster number 2 are 35. Cluster number 3 are 39. And the last one, that is cluster number 4, are 23. See this. Separated, and this is what clustering is done. So we create a clusters, we form cluster by technical methodology which are for a similarity notion of applying the Euclidean distance. We have calculated and based on that we have separated the data, many things. This is a systematic step we need to follow to go ahead with the clustering techniques here. Okay, clustering techniques, and this technique is called a divisive method. Along with that, there is one more method. We'll see that one also. And that method is called as agglomerative method, agglomerative clustering. Divisive is k-means and connected to that. One more technique is there. We'll see that one, how to work with that. Just a minute. The data is not copied. Yeah. The second category of clustering is called as hierarchical clustering. That also we will see. See how exactly is done. Let's talk about it. Now see, divisive method we have seen graphically how exactly it works in k-means clustering. Now let's see how the second method, agglomerative clustering, actually works and what the result that it will have out of it. Okay, so see this one. This is having 6 points present here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now what it does? It starts merging 2 points together which are very close to each other. Very close to each other. So these two are connected and we got the cluster something like that. Now from 6 clusters, I am creating 5 clusters by merging these two things together. We got another common cluster so far. Now using this, I can create either this or this. It means that, okay, this point are connected together by this method, or these 2 points are connected together in this way. Either you can have 4 group by this method or by this method. 4, they are group. The thing which are similar, connect them together. Okay, see again, go ahead. Now these 2 are similar, they are connected. 3 are formulated. Okay, now these 2 are similar, they are connected. Now 2 are formulated, and now these 2 are similar, highest cluster is formed. And how many clusters you want, based on that you choose that step. 4 you want, so you choose this step. How many you want? 2, sorry, 4 is this, 2 is this, 3 is this, so you choose that step and save these clusters. This is how similarity notions are used here also. See, there is a method used by agglomerative clustering called as a dendrogram. Dendrogram is a standard graph which is used to show the data in the form of a such tree. Binary kind of trees are there. Hierarchical clustering is used here. Check it out. Main output of hierarchical clustering is dendrogram, which shows the hierarchical relationship between the clusters. Check it out. So here, this data set we are given the numbers to them, names to them, A, B, C, D, E, F. First of all, you choose A and B are close. First of all, they are connected. See, at the lowest level, A and B are, E and F are connected. Here, dendrogram. After that, I'm having the next one, A and B are connected after that. Next one, A and B. Okay, so A and B are here. Then we got D connected to EF. D connected to EF. This group is connected. And finally, we connected C to EF. So CDEF is common and AB is common. And at the end, we have AB and CDEF are connected together here. But how to create the clusters now? Clusters are formed by having a cut somewhere. Like I want two clusters, so I'll have a cut here. So AB will be in one cluster, CDEF in another cluster. If I want three clusters, so I'll have a cut here. AB in one, D in F, and C is here. I want four, so I have a cut here, AB, EF, and CD. That's it. Dendrogram will show you. Now, technically, how operations are performed on in hierarchical or agglomerative clustering. The distance between the two clusters has been computed based on the length of straight line drawn. What is that? Euclidean distance. How to check? The same method is applied here, but the technically speaking, it works inversely like k-means clustering. It is keeping everyone as a separate cluster. And then we start merging things together. There we keep 3, 4, 5 k values already. And then we are taking one by one element inside it. This is what the difference that they have. Second method is that linkage criteria, which is used in agglomerative clustering. What's that? After selecting a distance matrix, necessary to determine where the distance is computed. From where? Let's see. Now I want to check. Now I want to check whether this is near or this is near. But remember, in this cluster, 3 points are there. From where, at what point the distance is calculated? Boundary, nearest cluster, or average centroid? That is called as the linkage criteria, which is used here in the agglomerative clustering. Okay, so for example, it can be computed between two more similar part of the cluster, single linkage that we call. Then the list similar bits of the cluster, it's called as complete linkage, or at the center of the cluster, called as mean or average linkage. These two common methods, and one more is there, two more are there. They're called as distance matrix and ward method that can be chosen to create the clusters over here. Remember, that's also possible to use it. Fine. Yeah, so this is our technique of agglomerative clustering is used. I'll show practically also, it will not take much time. Within 5 minutes, we can create the cluster because we know the ideal value of k now, and visualization technique is also available with us, so we can directly use it. Let's have a difference between clustering agglomerative and the divisive. So hierarchical clustering typically works by sequentially merging similar clusters. Sequentially merging these similar clusters together. This is known as agglomerative hierarchical clustering. Similar clusters are merged, called as agglomerative hierarchical clustering. In theory, it can also be done by initializing groups, grouping all the observations into one cluster. Grouping all the observations into one cluster. Okay, this is known as divisive hierarchical clustering, and divisive clustering is done in practice. See this one. We are starting from one cluster, then divide. It's not done there. Agglomerative starting from keeping everything cluster, combine. Like that's a difference between agglomerative and a divisive clustering there. So divisive clustering, we don't have any class like that. Agglomerative, but we are having that. Agglomerative class, we can use it. And let's talk about the agglomerative class also, how to use the agglomerative clustering techniques. Okay, I'll show you how to do this one practically. It's not that much difficult to understand. First of all, we'll try to draw a dendrogram and then we'll check how to perform operations with this. So here are some examples shown for the dendrogram. See, a simple dendrogram I have formed. Okay, just like that. Dendrogram will be seen practically. Okay. And how many clusters you want, based on that you create a cut over here. You have a cut over here. You have a cut over here. So accordingly, the clusters will be separated. See this one. Cut here 2 clusters. If you cut here 4 clusters, 3 is not ideal value for that example which is shown over here. And let's see how to do this one. So here I am using the same data set and they will compare the clustering, whether the result generated by the first one or result generated by second are same or different, or we'll have comparison between them also. That's also possible to work with this. Okay, like, so we can try this method. Let's see how do we use it. So already all things are done. We're having X. So first of all, I will show the dendrogram of particular data set. So let's see this one. X I am already having. See how dendrogram looks like. Dendrogram is a function to draw the graph dendrogram, and linkage is a function to determine the linkage criteria between the data set. Okay, dendrogram and linkage. So two will be there, and let's see what happened after that. So I'm creating a dendrogram by dend function. Directly we can have that. So first of all, let's define a figure with this one. For all 200 entries, it will be working. Let's have 16 by 9, and then dendrogram. Okay, for what X we're creating. Something is missing. Oh, large matrix. Just a minute. Yeah, linkage criteria should be applied. Sorry. Not many methods are there. Linkage criteria applied, then dendrogram can be formed. Yeah. See this. Oh, very complicated. Just a minute. I'll just make it more clear. Let's use the method. It's equal to word. Only graph we require. This is what. This is a dendrogram created for this data set, our data set. That's why I told merging two things together. Merge them, merge, and go above. Okay, so 200 entries are there are the leaf node. You can check it out how they are merged and then they are going above. So this is complicated actually. 200 entries are there. If I want 3 clusters, I have cut over here at 350. This one. If I want 3 clusters, so I can have a cut over here. Sorry. Created 5 1 2 3 4 5 clusters can be created, and when you cut it here, that cluster can be separated. But currently I have shown only dendrogram. I have not applied the clustering methods. Let's apply the clustering method here, like agglomerative clustering. AGL, agglomerative clustering. So let's see it from Scalan. Same class is there. Package is there, only the function is different. Okay, how many clusters you want? I'll apply it here. Number of clusters is equal to 5. Okay, AGL. And now let's create the object is created here. Agglomerative clustering, which is using the dendrogram package. Number of clusters are 5 is given. AGL object is created, and let's define the labels. Labels is equal to AGL dot fit underscore predict. What's that? X. Applied. Okay, applied, and I got the labels now. Maybe we'll have a different labels like H labels. hierarchical clustering labels which are predicted out of it, and just check it out. H labels. Now see, done. Agglomerate is applied after drawing the dendrogram, and then we got the cluster labels to all the cluster that we are having, all the data points we are having here in the data set. And now let's see the difference between these two. So I will use the same plot which is shown over here. Let's see that. Okay, and try to check. Only the difference is that the center will not be present here, and the data which I am showing over here will be H labels. Yes, see this. Before and after. Using agglomerative clustering, the second technique which is present in the agglomerative method, that we can see it here. The result without clustering, after H label I applied only. That's what I got the labels from the hierarchical clustering. I have applied it over here. Okay, and see, almost same are there. This is what we are having the first cluster where the low income high score. This is high income, sorry, low income low score. This is high income low score. This is high income high score, and this is middle class. But you can see there's a small difference. Always the clustering techniques will have. What sort of difference is there? Difference will be lying on the boundary points. Boundary points. Now how? Let's see. For example, the point that you can see over here at this point, boundary. Here total 6 points are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See. Boundary. All of these 6 points are there in the central cluster. Middle cluster is there. All 6 points are there in middle cluster. Okay. Kidding. In agglomerative, and if I go above, you can see these 6 points. 3 are in central cluster and these 3 are in below clusters. Kidding. See, boundary point problem is are there. So clustering is correctly done, but when the selection criteria is there, that's it will be something like a boundary point will create the problem different. But there is no any metrics by which you can check which algorithm is effective and which is not. Any algorithm can be chosen depending upon your feasibility. So generally k-means are chosen to perform operations of clustering here. So this is how the difference that we can see. 3 are here, 3 are here. And one more difference that we can find. For example, these 2 points, you can look at it, these 2 points here. The above point is in above cluster and below point is in below cluster. These 2, which are shown over here. This is going into the above blue cluster and this is in purple cluster. And if you check below, this case, both are in the central cluster, both. See here, these 2, their numbers are same, colors are same. Ready? Likewise. Okay. So boundary point will have some kind of problems in this particular way, but the actual operations are clustering. What expected results are that we will be having the groups, that's we can easily do, but it's very nominal difference that we can find. So many such clustering techniques are present that we can use. As per your syllabus, we have only common idea of clustering and the k-means clustering. One more is there, I'll show you. Just have a demonstration. Not much difference there. It's called a Gaussian mixture. See, for example, from sklearn dot mixture put Gaussian mixture. Okay, let's create the object of it. Directly same concepts are there, only the technique that they follow is different. Number of components we'll use 5. Okay, that's 5, and G labels is equal to gm dot fit predict. Okay, on X clusters are formed. Yes, done. So we'll not see the the internal details of it. Let's see it's present. Gaussian mixture is present. So Gaussian mixture I applied. Number of components means number of clusters, how many want to create. That's also applied. Got the object gm.fit predict X. Now I got another labels from Gaussian mixture is G labels, and now I'll show that here in G labels. G labels, and check this. Now see, this is the result of Gaussian mixture. Now here is also problem of boundary point. You can see 6 points are there. Out of that, 5 are above and only 1 is below. In Gaussian mixture, in first case it was 50-50. Second case it was All 6 were in central cluster, and in third case 5 are above and 1 is below. And here also both of these points are in central cluster, just like k-means we have seen in Gaussian mixture also same concepts are there. Fine. So common idea of clustering is same, that we are going to create a group within the data based on similarity. Their internal algorithm structure methodology can be different, but the prime goal is that we have to create the groups within the data, and accordingly we will perform the unsupervised learning. One more thing to note over here. See, the clustering is done. Now what will happen when new customer will come? Clustering is having ability to put that data into a specific cluster there. Let's say a new element is present here. For example, new element is there whose annual income is 45 and spending score is 78. Correct? Let's see. Annual income is 45 and spending score is 78. Now, in which group, which cluster this element will go? So let's see km dot predict. That's we have seen in neighbors classifier. In survival probability prediction, here also it's possible to have the same thing. Prediction is possible only when the grouping is done, clustering is done, then only it's possible to predict. Now I can predict it. New. In which group it will go? 1. Cluster number 1. Okay. Or it's having 25 and here we have 98. Spending score 25 salary, 98 spending score. Still number 1 is there. Sorry. So let's make it 25 and this is 28. 4. Group number 4. Or let's make it different here again. 95 and 28. Group number 2. Cluster. So once clusters are created, you can put new data because a criteria model, data model is created. Data model is created, then you can do the predictions on that data and predict in which particular class the element will go. So it's possible for all the clustering methods. So in case of unsupervised data modeling, machine learning, we're having this technique to group your data depending upon different methods that they follow. We create the groups and we do the predictions. We separate them. We perform different operations from them. We can use the data differently also. So pattern finding is done with the help of the clustering kind of techniques. So that's what clustering is having here. Clustering, they are basically focused on finding the patterns, generating the groups, and based on the similarity notion, these operations are performed. So that's it. That's from the point of clustering, all things that we require from the clustering point of view. That's what we have seen. Overview, method, determine number of clusters till this point. Okay. So the next point we are going to see the association rules, regression and classification. Association rules and regression, only 2 things that we will see: how they are created, how they are formulated, how they are evaluated. Practically, we'll see practically the things are remembered very easily. That's why this method is very commonly used. I choose. Okay. So if you have any doubts or questions, so it's open for you. You can ask any kind of questions or the doubts. I will upload this presentation also on the site, as well as I will share the program also with you. You can use this program. You can run by your own. You can modify by your own and try to understand the things from that particular algorithm of data science. Okay. If any questions, you can ask.